I tell people all the time, I'm a microdose daytime high type of person. I
Love that.
like to smoke to work and focus, clean, and to work out. Those are the three reasons. That's my relationship with cannabis now. I'm not a recreational smoker anymore. Was before. I'm more of a daytime person than a nighttime person. I'm going to try it. After this, I'm going to try this and give it a go, and I'll let you know how I feel. Yeah, I'm definitely... You've got me with a THCV.
Yeah, I'd say right now, Tommy, it's got to be one of the most attractive cannabinoids for most consumers to want to try.
Welcome to the KayaCast, the podcast for cannabis businesses looking to launch, grow, and scale their operations.
Max, thank you so much for joining me today.
Absolutely, Tommy. Thanks for having me.
Can you talk a little bit more about the cannabinoids, because it's newer? A lot of people just understand THC. They don't understand the full spectrum.
Totally, Tommy. So that's also something that's really special about our just normal classic products, our sativa, hybrids, and indicas. Because we're using rosin, they're always going to have trace amounts of minor cannabinoids. And to answer your question, what cannabinoids are? So we've got now CBD, probably the most widely known cannabinoid from the marijuana plant, which is really great for just relaxation, calming, anti-anxiety, muscle pain, inflammation. Then you've got this new cannabinoid, CBG, that's starting to explode. It's really found to be known for gut health, really good for helping relieve tension, relaxation. And then I'd say the most popular one right now that everyone seems to want is CBN. And it's because there happens to be a ton of people out there that have struggle with sleep. CBN is the cannabinoid that has been widely known and used in most sleep edibles because of the amount of relaxation that it provides to most customers and basically gets you to that point where you can fall asleep fairly quick. You also have THCV. This one is starting to really become more sought after because it gives most consumers a bit of a hyper-focused effect. And we're also starting to see and hear people use it for appetite suppression. So a lot of people like to have that in their edibles because, let's be honest, most people when they have edibles get the munchies. And so THCV can actually help prevent that. And then now there's
THCV make you high too. It's the same thing as THC.
It's a less psychoactive. It's less psychoactive. So it's not necessarily going to get you to the high that most people know that come from THC. So that's what a lot of people like it. It doesn't have that like little loopy, goofy effect. And now there's, THCV. Yeah, a lot of people, I use it when I golf. I use it when I need to work out. I use it when I'm just doing stuff around the house.
Do you guys have gummies that are just THCV?
So not just THCV, Tommy, we're actually about to have our new focus gummy. It's a 1-to-1, 5 milligrams of each cannabinoid, THC, THCV, and CVC. CVC is also a newer cannabinoid that we are finding to be just as effective as THC to help drive and get those cannabinoids into your endocannabinoid system. One of the things that a lot of customers were frustrated with, not on the classic cannabis side, but more on there are a lot of customers that were diving into CBD only. They didn't really want THC. So they were going to a lot of these CBD shops that you see just in your regular shopping complexes. And they were buying high dose CBD tinctures, gummies, but had very little, if not no THC in them. And they were finding that they weren't feeling the effects and they were confused and they gave up on CBD, which is not something they should do. CBD definitely has effects, but the problem is that you typically need a decent amount of THC, or we're finding CVC, to be present in that formulation, because what needs to happen is that CBD needs to bond to a certain molecular structure in order for your liver to actually process it correctly. And if that structure is not there for it to bond to, then it's just going to pass through your system just like anything else, and you probably won't feel the effects. So again, CVC we are finding to be almost as effective as THC to help drive those minor cannabinoids into your endocannabinoid system for your body to truly process them the way that we want them to be.
There are so many there's so much benefits.
And Tommy, we're just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
Without having the medical backing to go and do research on a lot of these minor cannabinoids. And most of this is through just individual research of people that are trying it. Unfortunately, there are a lot of patients out there that actually need these kind of they need these cannabinoids for the medical benefit. And because a lot of them are trying and using them, we're able to get feedback from a lot of these customers, patients, and not just us, but through other companies that are sharing this feedback. We're able to use that to create the formulation that we are currently.
So rosin seems to me that it's a superior product. You get the full
Absolutely.
spectrum. It doesn't destroy the cannabinoids. It also sounds a lot more expensive to produce.
Yeah, Tommy. Typically distillate, you can use old material. You can even use material that was actually not deemed to be smokable because of X, Y, and Z. I won't get into that, but you can use that material to make distillate versus rosin, you need typically, if it's an inhalable rosin, it has to come from fresh rosin. Fresh rosin typically is when you're just going to take the plant in its live form, you're going to cut it right at the stalk, and you're going to put it right into a freezer. It's still technically a live product. You're then going to go through the typical rosin creation process. And because of that, you're actually only going to typically see anywhere between, if you're lucky, 3.5 to 4.5% yield from the physical plant. So because of that, it does drive the price up of that concentrate. With distillate, there's plenty of times and through different processes, people are seeing upwards of 10 to 15% returns on some of their material, which is another reason why distillate is still so popular within markets and why rosin is still struggling to be popular because of that cost difference. Now, that being said, there are a lot of people now, and let me backtrack a little bit before I go down that path, Tommy, sorry. You have to grow cannabis differently for rosin than you do for bag of peel flower. And by that, typically the cycle for rosin is a little bit longer for the plant. And that's another reason why certain grows don't want to dedicate rooms to just rosin, because they want to have that cycle a little bit faster. And if you're obviously chopping and cropping a little bit faster, you can maybe get an extra cycle in a year. It's more revenue. I totally get it. But now what we're seeing, Tommy, is because rosin is starting to become more and more popular, you're seeing grows dedicating rooms to just fresh rosin production, meaning they're going to allow those plants to go the entirety of the life cycle that they need to in order to get all of the trichomes, in order to get your best material, in order to get your best washes. So yeah, rosin is still the more expensive concentrate for many reasons, but it is definitely still the purest and cleanest concentrate that you should probably consume.
So if
and the terpiest.
If I was a retailer and what is the economics of rosin? Is there a higher margin?
Yeah, technically, because you're going to have a higher price point product, you're going to make more money off of that sale, right? Typically, you're seeing distillate products anywhere from $6 to $10 wholesale. So the average retailer is going to make through Keystone double. So not double, but they're buying it for $6, they're going to sell it for 12 to 13. So they're making $6 to $7 off of that product. Versus rosin, a lot of times they're getting rosins being sold now in most states anywhere from $50 to $70 a gram. So typically they're probably getting that for 15, they're probably getting it for anywhere from 20 to 25. So per transaction, they're seeing almost triple the amount of value that they're getting off of distillate products. However, if we're being honest, because rosin is more expensive, they aren't selling as much of it at the rate that they are selling distillate products. However, we are starting to see those numbers slide and shift, and rosin is actually starting to uptick and start to really cause a shift in certain markets of what's being purchased and consumed more. Like in the state like Colorado and California, I would say the solventless market is exploding, and you're seeing a lot more customers starting to steer away from distillate products and start to pay attention to what's going into their body, their lungs, their actual ingestion system. Do they want something that's made with ethanol and butane, or they want something that's made with water and ice? And so you are starting to see that shift now within the industry.
I feel as though if I was a retailer, I would look at also the age demographics. People in the early 20s, probably distillate. Right, you're
Yeah.
in college.
No, you'd be surprised actually, Tommy. It's the opposite. The 20s and the 30s, those are the ones that are heavily supporting rosin right now. Now it's the older demographic. They don't quite understand
Wow.
the cost difference, right? There's some that don't understand the cost difference, some that don't care about the cost difference. So the older demographic, I would say the 40 to 60s, they're starting to become more intrigued by rosin because of its clean aspect, right? Once they realize and figure out how distillate is made and the process and the material that's used to make it, they're starting to maybe question if that's the product they want to use or if they want to use the clean product. But right now, Tommy, definitely you're seeing a huge increase in rosin purchasing from the 20s to 30 age demographic. I'd say the 40 to 60 is widely a distillate using demographic. Also, Tommy, another reason behind that is most rosin products, you're going to taste those terpenes. You're going to taste the true plant form. Whereas, as you and I both know, with a lot of distillate products, specifically what we know right now are one of the highest products are carts and disposables. Because people want to be able to smoke on the go. They want to be discreet. They don't want to smell like cannabis. And because of that, they don't want to taste the cannabis. That's another reason why distillate is still, I would say, top in terms of consumption, especially in inhalables, because you have a lot of people that just don't want to taste the actual cannabis. They want to taste that blueberry flavoring or the strawberry flavoring that these distillate companies are using. It's just no bueno.
Yeah, it's trash.
I'll let you say that, Tommy. It is definitely something that I hope more people find ways to educate themselves and understand the difference and understand that actually there's many rosins out there that have that strawberry, that orange, that lemon flavoring that they're paying for in distillate through some awful flavoring or botanical derived terpene that's being used, where they can actually get those true terpenes, those true flavors from rosin products.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I just don't like it's called natural flavor, but there's nothing natural about it. And it's littered in all of our food, which is not healthy. So if I was a retailer, rosin sounds to me that it's higher AOV if you can sell it. There's a little bit more of an education though.
Yeah. So Tommy, what we're doing actually right now as a company, because there is more education, you need to hit not only the Budtenders with that education, but you also need to educate the consumer. It's actually, I would say, equally as important. Now, obviously the Budtenders, they're going to be the ones that are going to be hyping up your product and educating the consumer when they're at the register, right? At the PO or at the point of sale. Versus when you have customers just waiting in the lobby, it's a fantastic time to have that quick little 30-second, 45-second pitch to explain to them the difference in the different concentrates. So we actually heavily invest in both. So we're constantly having our CSAs, which are customer success associates, that are going out doing pop-ups at stores across the 3 states that we're in, Missouri, Ohio, and Colorado. And what they're doing is they're getting in front of those customers. They're getting in front of them to educate them and to explain the difference in the concentrates and the different products that are on shelves. Now, we also do a lot of different types of educations for Budtenders. Sometimes we're doing lunch and learns. Sometimes we are going in before the store opens, like an hour before, to have really authentic time with those Budtenders and do anything we can to educate them or answer any questions that they have. We also do or host sometimes happy hours where we have the Budtenders come out and we're able to continue that education in a more controlled manner where we can have authentic conversation without being interrupted by transactions and customers.
What does education look like? If I was a retailer and maybe I'm not operating in the 3 states that you're live in and I want to sell rosin, or you're looking for a partner, what type of partner should I look for? And can you just talk a little bit about the education process that Budtenders should go through to fully understand the differences between rosin and distillate and the different cannabinoids?
Yeah. So, Tommy, there's no true path forward for education for rosin. There's a lot of different ways. We use platforms like Seed Talent, Learn Brands, where we're able to use those platforms to educate Budtenders directly, creating the decks that we are able to create in-house. Now, oftentimes I actually will tell a lot of Budtenders if they want education on rosin and the process of how it's made, there's so much that they can find on the internet. One of the industry leaders out there, Low Temp Industries, they are absolutely killing the game right now. And they produce, I would say, some of the best content in terms of not only how to produce and make rosin for people who are trying to do it at home or people who are trying to do it at commercial scale. They also are always putting out amazing content in terms of how to best use rosin, what rosin is better, what is worse, and why. They do a fantastic job at that. We are working and developing more content for ourselves as well to be able to promote and how to educate and be able to direct budtenders and customers to these videos so that we can just have them
Can you give me
around.
that?
Yeah, Low Temp Industries. We actually use their equipment in all of our facilities because they make some of the best solventless extraction
Globe,
equipment.
GLOB.
Sorry, low in terms of low, and then temp.
Okay,
Industries.
low temp
Yeah.
industries. Yeah, oh, that makes
Mhm.
sense. That's how
Yeah.
rosin is produced. If I would,
Exactly.
I think that for me, when I look at rosin, I look at the benefits of rosin. The benefits of rosin is one, it's the way that's extracted.
Yep.
You don't kill the plant, and then two, the reason why we do it this way is the cannabinoids, and there are cannabinoids that you've mentioned that I've
Mhm.
never heard before, or I've heard it, but it went one ear and out the other. And if I am big. So you talked about CBD, CBG, CBC, CBN, and THCV. For me as a consumer, where I am in my life, THCV is the thing for me. And after this call, I am hitting up my local dispensary, and I'm gonna find a distillate not a distillate, a rosin with THCV, because I want to take something that can give me hyper focus that I
Yeah.
can translate to work.
Yeah, it's one of those minor cannabinoids, Tommy, that we are working on the education deck as we speak. Because typically, if we're being honest, most people, when they think of a cannabis product, it's not going to make them focus, right? It's going to do quite the opposite. So THCV, that's why it's such a unique cannabinoid. And typically why if you see a product that's really high in THC and THCV, I would probably avoid that. You actually want to find a product that's low in THC, higher in THCV. Now, our 1-to-1 is an equal amount, but they're small amounts. And we did that on purpose. We wanted to ensure that we are giving a product that's going to be more focused on the minors than it is on the actual THC. Again, that THC and the CBC that we used is just going to help encourage and drive that THCV into your endocannabinoid system so that it gets exactly where it should be. Because, yeah, Tommy, I've definitely found using this product on the weekends and anytime that I'm trying to be very productive, or again, with my golf game, I've noticed a massive improvement when I'm out on the course, when I have a gummy with our 1-to-1-to-1 formula in it versus when I'm just out there doing my normal thing.
Interesting. That's fascinating. There is a huge market out there for people that, what do you call that? I forgot. I was talking to somebody and she coined it perfectly. You have the market of people that consume cannabis normally,
Yeah.
just to relax and enjoy the plant. Then you have a market of people that consume cannabis to treat an ailment. So that's, you mentioned,
I
there are
believe we
people
call
that
that
are,
the canna-curious market, Tommy. At least that's what we call it right now. And we call it canna-curious because most of the people that are searching for these minor cannabinoid SKUs, they know what THC is. They know what it's going to provide. And they're able to now start to dive into and look into what these other minor cannabinoids are going to do for them. I've heard countless positive feedback about our sleep product. One of the really cool things we did with that product, so that product was another 1-to-1-to-1 THC, CBD, and CBN. So when we created that product, we really focused on making sure that CBN was the first thing that your body would feel, because we wanted it to be, CBN is what's going to obviously make you tired. So we actually nano emulsified the CBN. And what that means is we chop down the molecule to a minute size to where it actually goes into the blood-brain barrier first, which means your body's going to naturally start to process the CBN, which makes your body tired. Now, what comes behind it is the CBD and the THC, because they're larger molecules, take the body a little bit longer to break them down. So that's what actually helped keep you asleep throughout the night. And since the CBN is the first thing to onset, it's actually going to be the first cannabinoid to offset, meaning you won't wake up with this really tired, groggy hangover feeling from CBN. Now, what a lot of companies are doing is that they're nanoing all three cannabinoids. And by doing so, it's great, it's fast acting, but you don't know which cannabinoid your body's going to process first. And so there's still a very high chance that CBN could be maybe the last thing that your body processes, which means you will wake up with that groggy CBN hangover. We wanted to ensure that would not happen. So we nano emulsified just the one cannabinoid, and it's been tremendous for us so far.
I see. Yeah, are we at, you're in the industry and you're in the game, are we at really the forefront of understanding the cannabinoids, understanding the interactions between cannabinoids, and the best way to put these into form factor that we can ingest?
Oh, absolutely, Tommy. Like I said, we're just scratching the surface right now. We don't even have the medical institutions that are doing all the research on X, Y, and Z, you name it. They can't even touch cannabis right now because of all the funding that comes from pharma, whatever you want to call it. Again, just scratching the surface. There's going to be so much that's going to come and be discovered over the next 10 years in terms of formulations. How much of a certain cannabinoid should you put in and mix with another? Right now, we're all out there basically doing our best to formulate the best formulations. And I think that's what we're doing right now, Dialed In. When we create a product, we create it with intention. There's a purpose and a reason behind it. We're not just taking a bunch of numbers and throwing it into a product. We're taking it, and we actually have a pretty heavy R&D process that we use to make sure that we're creating something with purpose and with intention.
I was thinking about this other day in terms of just the market itself and how big this industry could be and where this industry should go. And I was looking down a list of all my friends, right? Not that many, but going down a list of 20 people. And of these 20 people, only 2 actually smoke cannabis recreationally. 18 people in my list do not smoke cannabis recreationally, but do want all of the health benefits of these cannabinoids. They just don't understand the cannabinoids, a normal person. 2, they feel as though that if they take these cannabinoids, there's a high that comes with it that makes them unproductive, right? There's not a lot of, I don't hang out with a lot of gamers. There's probably different subsectors of the industry. Of course. And I always think to myself, if I was a retailer or a brand, but you guys selling to retailers, how can I position the branding of where I'm at, and based on the demographics, and to truly, really maximize the amount of people that you can reach? Because the biggest issue that we see right now, particularly in mature industries or mature markets, is everybody's marketing to the same people. So you're marketing to a subsector of people, that smoke cannabis recreationally. The market there's just a bigger market. I don't know what that number is, but I know it's bigger. And I know that there's not a lot of people tapping into this market. It's just harder.
I think that goes into it is harder. It is harder. But again, Tommy, I think that also goes into, you make a great point about most cannabis companies just marketing to the same audience. That's actually something that we are currently, as we speak, diving into and creating a full-on marketing campaign that makes sure that we're speaking to not just one demographic, but to multiple demographics. And we're coming up with strategies and how we're going to be able to achieve doing so, because we're seeing more and more people above the age of 60 go into dispensaries and start to shop. And Tommy, they're all looking for these minor cannabinoid SKUs, believe it or not. They, again, like I said, they know what THC is. They want to know what all of these other letters mean. And they're all so curious as to how they're going to feel after they take these products. So that is definitely something that we're doing as a brand right now, to actively find ways to attract that demographic, because let's be honest, they have the spending power too, right? A lot of the 20 and 30-year-olds, we all know where we were when we were 20 and sometimes 30, still struggling. But
that's exactly what I thought was a 21-year-old. When I was 21, my relationship with the plant was completely different than today in my late 30s. If I am extremely interested in taking, I guess, a gummy, a gummy that has THCV, CBC, and CBG, does that exist?
So I don't believe that exact formulation is out yet. Now, that being said, I don't know every market, so there could be some that have that, but to my knowledge, no, it doesn't yet. But there's a few things, Tommy. I would say one of the main things is unfortunately going to be cost. THCV and CBC are some of the more very expensive cannabinoids to use in formulations right now. And it's just because of there's not a lot of people producing it. Once that changes, that will drive costs down. And I think that will encourage more companies to use more of those minor cannabinoids in more of their SKUs. And then I would say the other reason is just formulation determination and trying to figure out how much of each of those cannabinoids do we want to put into the product before one is canceling out the other. Are they working together or against each other? Is it in harmony or not? And so that's, again, what we need, why we really need these medical not departments, but these medical companies to actually put the research in and help us as cannabis companies to be able to help figure out what these formulations should be.
I'm talking from just anecdotal experience. My body does not take THC well when I'm ingesting it in the gummy.
Okay.
You know the reasons why you're in the industry, but for my body particularly, it takes a very long time for the effects to kick in. And when it does kick in, it's just way too much. It's not enjoyable. It's not too much.
That's Tommy, even with rosin, even with a rosin gummy?
No, I haven't tried rosin.
Okay.
Right? And before, when you're younger, I'm talking about from a long time ago, you make a brownie, you make a cookie, and away you go. And that just really destroyed my experience ingesting. So I've done microdosing before with sprays, and that's great. But I feel like there is a subsector of the market that has had that experience when they were younger, in their early 20s, of, say, you make a bad batch of brownies or whatever the case may be. And now when you look at a gummy, you're like, I don't want that.
Yeah, I referenced the brownie markets, a lot of the East Coast and Southern states where everyone loves to bake. And I think a lot of people had really bad experiences with homemade edibles, which scared them, to your exact point, Tommy, of trying now regulated edibles that are made within facilities that they have to be tested and make sure that the homogenization is correct, which should make you feel a little bit better about the gummies that are being sold today, Tommy, is that all of them have to be tested to ensure that there is actually only 10 milligrams of THC in that gummy versus your buddy telling you, hey, there's only 2 grams in that brownie, so you should be good. If you want to eat half, you're going to only have 1 gram. No one knew that. So a lot of people would eat half, maybe only had half a gram, then they eat the other half and they actually had 1.5 grams, and they're wondering why the high was so different from one side of the brownie to the next. So for everyone that's listening, right now, regulated edibles are all tested. So don't be scared. If it says 10 milligrams, there will be 10 milligrams of THC in that product. I just want to say you should feel a little more comfortable with the regulated products that are on shelves right now. But I totally understand, because I've had that experience before in the past.
Yeah, no, for me, it's the uphill battle that
oh, absolutely,
we have to fight. I do think anybody listening, there's a huge market it's just not really tapped into. And a part of that is the products aren't there. The research isn't there. The products are new. You guys are coming out. I love the work that you guys do. You guys are pushing this industry forward. The industry of we have an existing cannabis industry. It's been around forever, but there's a sub industry that's coming up right now, and that's the health industry in cannabis.
Yeah.
And I
Health and
want to see
wellness.
that health industry thrive.
Yeah, Tommy, we actually would say this, we say it all the time. We want to be the number one health and wellness brand that has cannabis tied to it. One of the big things, and that's why we're
Yeah.
going down this minor cannabinoid innovation line. Because again, Tommy, soon enough, we'll have a 5-to-1 DVD to THC. So you're going to have 50 milligrams of CBD to your 10 milligrams of THC. We're also going to have our 2-to-1, which is a CBG THC combo, 20 milligrams of CBG to 10 milligrams of THC. And then we'll have both of our 1-to-1-to-1 products, one being more for focus, one being more for sleep. And all of those products will be available by the end of this summer in all markets that we're in.
So when you take, I'm gonna try after this. I'm gonna try this and give it a go, and I'll let you know how I feel. Yeah, I'm definitely. You've got me with the THCV.
Yeah, I'd say right now, Tommy, it's got to be one of the most attractive cannabinoids for most consumers to want to try, because it's going to give them the opposite effects of what they believe should come from cannabis. So they're all very intrigued by it, including myself. I love that product.
I tell people all the time, I'm a microdose daytime high type of person. I
Love that.
like to smoke to work and focus, clean, and to work out. Those are the three reasons. That's my relationship with cannabis now. I'm not a recreational smoker anymore. Was before. I'm more of a daytime person than a nighttime person. And the THCV for me just fits into my profile perfectly. And the reason why I think this industry is so much bigger than it is today, the potential of it is, I know a lot of me's.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
if I took a gummy that didn't make me high, but gave me superpowers and gave me the ability to focus into a project or whatever it is that I'm thinking about or whatever it is that I'm working on, every single person that I know in my life is probably going to take that product.
Yeah. One of the big things behind that product and our sleep product, Tommy, is we're trying to get people away from the pharmaceuticals that they have to take to get those same effects. And if we can do that, because those pharmaceuticals are so hard on the body, right? Over long periods of time, they do so much damage to our liver, to multiple organs in our system. Whereas cannabis, as we know now and have found through some scientific studies, is actually extremely beneficial in so many ways to our body. So yeah, I would say getting THCV in there is definitely going to be an added bonus for you. I can't wait to hear your reaction to the product.
Yeah, guys, if you're listening, there is a market out there. You should market to entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
Entrepreneurs, or I guess professionals, high performing professionals, people that just want to win. And to your point, golf. There's just so many different avenues that you can go into, and I'm really excited for where the industry is going.
And too, Tommy, I am. And I hope more rosin companies go down the path of using more minor cannabinoids, because it's really right now, you're only seeing it with distillate edibles. We're one of very few rosin gummy producers that are actually really diving into the minor cannabinoid space, but that's something that we plan on owning hopefully very soon, with rosin included.
Sometimes when I look at a company's name, I always think to myself, okay, why? And I understand now, Dialed In Gummies.
That's right. Right. What we do. But yeah, Tommy, we're extremely excited. Last thing else is right now you can find Dialed In Gummies in most dispensaries in Colorado. We're in about 100 of the 143 doors in Ohio, and we're getting ready to get to that 100-door count in Missouri very soon. But we just launched in Missouri 4 weeks ago. So anyone that's listening to Missouri, you can find Dialed In Gummies now at your local dispensary. Anyone in Ohio, you can find them there as well. And we will be expanding into many more markets before the end of this year. So keep an eye out for us on your local shelf.
That was beautiful. So before I let you go, what is your favorite product right now that you're taking and why?
Yeah, favorite product that I'm taking right now, just because the 1-to-1 is available on all shelves. So our 2-to-1 CBG product is definitely my number one product that I take most days. It's my midday product. I'll usually take that around 3 or 4 p.m. And what I love about that product is I take it typically before dinner, and it just really helps me with digestion and everything that I'm eating later on that night. And then obviously the sleep product was my number one before we released our CBG product. I definitely have issues with sleep. Waking up in the middle of the night is very difficult for me. And when I wake up, brain starts going and I sometimes can't turn it off. With our sleep product, I actually find myself not waking up in the middle of the night and are able to actually sleep throughout the entirety of the night and get my full 6 to 6.5 hours of sleep, which uninterrupted feels like 8. That product has been tremendous for me.
So when you say 2-to-1 for the CBG, is 2 CBG to 1 THC?
Yeah, so it's 20 milligrams of CBG to 10 milligrams of THC. So it's a typical dose of our classics. Our classics, Tommy, have 10 milligrams of THC. So we doubled down on the CBG for that product to ensure that you feel the CBG effects over the THC effects.
That's the thing with me. If I take a 10 milligram THC gummy and just has THC in it,
Yeah,
I wouldn't be able to sleep.
you'll be too active. Your mind will probably be racing, huh?
Yeah. So the cannabinoids that you put in, it counteracts the THC.
It can counteract, or it can enhance, or it can provide a different type of effect that just THC would give your body, right? And that's, again, Tommy, most people out there that have ingested edibles over the last 10 to 15 years have probably only had distillate-based edibles, and they're only getting a straight dose of THC, which that's what they're looking for. But that high can be sometimes a little intense for some people. So to pair it with those minor cannabinoids can, as we said, enhance or benefit the user or customer patient to not feel that extremely overwhelming rush of THC hitting their system.
And you take this midday, so you're productive. You're not high. You're productive.
No, again, it's around 4 o'clock, right? So my day is starting to typically wind down. Most of the meetings are done, and I'm finishing out my day with emails, closing out projects, but I'm able to still absolutely stay focused. Now, that being said, Tommy, 10 milligrams of THC might be too much for some people. So I'd recommend if you cut our gummies in half, because of the homogenization, you are going to get half of that dose. So it would be a 5 milligram dose of THC and a 10 milligram dose of CBG. And to be honest with you, Tommy, most of the time, that's what I'm doing, just because I don't want that 10 milligrams of THC at that point of the day. So I'm just taking about half, and then I'll eat another half like right before dinner.
Beautiful. Max, thank you so much for coming on today. I learned a lot, and
Absolutely,
you've
Tommy.
changed my mind on gummy.
I love it. I love it. I can't wait for you to try, Tommy, and I really look forward to hearing your feedback on it.
Before I let you go, how can our listeners find you?
Oh, you can find me on Instagram, Dialed In Max. I'm also on LinkedIn, and I look forward to hearing any feedback that anyone from this podcast hears and tries our product. Please reach out.
So if you're in Missouri, Colorado, and
Ohio,
find Dialed In Gummies.
absolutely.
Thanks again, Max. Thank you so much for joining me today. Before I let you go, let's talk about the Budtender Spotlight winner. At Kaya Push, we are celebrating Budtenders who keep our cannabis culture thriving through our Budtender Spotlight. This week's winner, we are highlighting Charlie from Rocky Mountain Cannabis, nominated by Jay. Charlie, a customer champion who knows every guest by name, is always kind, and her product knowledge is unmatched. Her one-of-a-kind personality and dedication to customer experience makes her an absolute joy to be around. Congratulations, Charlie. If you have an exceptional team member you want to highlight, please check out our Budtender Spotlight on Kaya Push. We announce winners every week. Winners receive a $50 gift card as well as a personalized certificate highlighting their achievement.
Thanks for listening to the KayaCast podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast in your favorite podcast app or visit our website to access the full archive of episodes from the show.